On the dusty, crater-strewn front lines of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region, a small mission turned into a stark illustration of how modern warfare is determined not by numbers, but by precision and technology. The FPV drone camera of the 414th UAV Brigade, the Magyar Bird, captured the dramatic moment when a Russian invader attempting a solo infiltration into the Pokrovsk sector met his end in silence broken only by the sound of the Ukrainian FPV drone's propellers. During a reconnaissance mission conducted by the 414th UAV Brigade, the Magyar Bird, the footage shows a Russian soldier walking alone across open terrain without the support of vehicles or fellow soldiers. He struggles to move quickly, his body leaning forward, occasionally ducking for cover among vegetation and mounds of earth. His face is not clearly visible, but his body language conveys fear, a realization that he is in unsafe territory and that his presence has been recorded by the Ukrainian drone pilot. The pilot, dozens of kilometers from the line of fire, controlled a small drone equipped with a small but deadly warhead and continued his aggressive dive, keeping the target focused in the camera lens. The attacker, apparently aware of his surveillance, accelerated, even attempting to escape into the bushes. However, his maneuvers were futile at high speed. The drone dived directly toward the attacker, and then boom! The explosion occurred instantly, hitting the target directly. Dust, dirt, and debris flew, leaving the enemy's body lying helpless. This brief but precise operation reaffirmed the effectiveness of Ukraine's UAV unit, the 414th UAV Brigade, nicknamed the Magyar Birds, known as one of the most lethal drone units in the Ukrainian armed forces. They are not simply UAV operators, they are hunters who master the three-dimensional battlefield, turning every open corner into a death trap. This unit has repeatedly proven its worth, destroying armored vehicles, command posts, and even enemy infantry attempting to infiltrate. This attack not only demonstrated the technical proficiency of drone control on the battlefield, but also symbolized the assertion that any enemy movement, even by a single intruder, would not go unnoticed and would be met with a deadly response. Pokrovsk, a key point on the Donetsk battle line, continues to be a battleground for technological and tactical duels. The swift elimination of this lone infiltrator underscored Ukraine's superiority in utilizing FPV drones as a decisive weapon on the modern battlefield, where every buzz could mean death. Currently, Ukrainian forces are counterattacking a dangerous Russian penetration of defenses in the operationally critical eastern Pokrovsk sector. But a dangerous 10-kilometer, 6-mile deep salient carved out into Ukrainian lines by infiltrating Russian infantry is far from eliminated, news reports and official statements on Friday, August 15th said. A Friday morning situation report published by Ukraine's Army General Staff said battles were in progress along the length of the Russian penetration, and reported Russian troops had launched attacks along much of the length of the salient. The Kremlin's main effort appeared to be aimed at the hamlet of Mayak, some 15 kilometers, 9 miles, northeast of Pokrovsk, where Russian troops were trying to gain a foothold, the statement said. In surprise attacks carried out by foot soldiers moving through gaps in Ukrainian lines, the Russian military over the weekend kicked off a wave of attacks along the narrow 3-kilometer-wide, 2-mile-wide salient. However, many against Ukrainian rear area units, normally held at a distance from the front line, while Ukrainian commanders appeared, at least initially, to have been caught flat-footed by the Russian assaults. Since then, Ukrainian army spokesmen have announced the dispatch of reserve troops to the threatened sector, but by midweek, official Kyiv was calling the Russian offensive, though dangerous, less a major attack than a substantial raid by foot soldiers that Kyiv's forces would contain and hunt down. The industrial city of Pokrovsk has been a prime territorial objective for a Russian offensive that kicked off in early 2024 with the ultimate goal of conquering Ukraine's Donetsk region. The Dobropilya penetration, if consolidated, would advance Russian operations aimed at cutting supply routes to Pokrovsk. Speaking on a nationally televised news program on Thursday evening, Viktor Tregobov, spokesman for Ukraine's Joint Forces Dnipro, the regional army headquarters heading up operations in the Pokrovsk sector, said Russian troop numbers in the salient were limited and that operations to mop up what he called isolated groups of Russian infantry were progressing at a satisfactory pace. When they crossed the first line of Ukrainian defenses, these were small groups of several people. Then they accumulated directly behind the first line, trying to unite into larger units. At present, a Wednesday statement from Ukraine's 1st Corps National Guard Azov, an elite formation well known in Ukraine for its bitter defense while surrounded in the city of Mariupol in 2022, said that its subunits had launched counterattacks in the Pokrovsk sector, killing 151 Russian soldiers, wounding 70, and taking 8 prisoners. Frontline sources told Kiev Post that at least 2 Azov battalions were engaged in containment operations around the Dobropilya salient, and Ukrainian mainstream media widely confirmed the Azov Corps' claim of successful counterattacks. By Friday, video recordings of 6 Russian prisoners of war stating they had been captured by Azov fighters in that sector had reached Ukrainian open-source platforms. Video published by Joint Forces Dnipro on Thursday, purporting to show a commander's meeting in an underground bunker in the Pokrovsk sector, showed Azov senior officer Denis Prokopenko discussing operations with other unit commanders, reportedly deployed to the Pokrovsk-Dobropilya sector. Other Ukrainian units with sub-elements reported in open sources to be committed to containing and reducing the Russian salient included 93rd Mechanized Infantry Brigade, Kholodny Yar, 4th National Guard Brigade, Rubizh, and 1st Assault Battalion, Da Vinci. By Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU standards, all those units are considered well-trained and equipped, with solid combat records, according to Wednesday's news reports. In actions early in the week, 93rd Brigade captured 4 prisoners.